All right. Welcome to the show today. Today we're going to be talking about how to immerse technology in education. We have with us Ms. Jaime Donally. She's a former math teacher turned technology and integration consultant. She also runs a weekly Twitter chat about AR and VR in education. She is the author of Learning Transported in the Immersive Classroom. Let's give it up to our new friend and educator, or former educator, Miss Jaime, to the show.
Thank you so much. I mean, you can never stop being an educator, right?
I was going to say that. You know, you can never stop educating. And you was a teacher in math for what, pre-K and 8th grade? Is that correct?
Yeah, all elementary school really and middle school. Most of my time was spent at the middle school level, but yeah, it had a chance to kind of be part of that formation for students at different times. And math was one of those things for me that was really more about inspiring our students to really see that they can do something, because probably for me, I can't say I really fit into the GT area where I can help support the kids that just get it. I feel very passionate about the students that have failed and feel defeated in math. So working with those students and helping them recognize their potential is really the part that I really enjoyed. And, you know, math was the avenue, but it was the relationships with the students and having an opportunity to connect with people. And now predominantly connecting with adults. It's just really boils back down to that relational aspect of it.
You know, for me, math was a very tough subject in school. I was not a fan of math, like most students are, not a fan of math. Um, but the funny thing about it is that I eventually went on and and got a degree in finance, which is really, really weird, right? Because I didn't like math, so I didn't like the problem solving, if you will. I like more the equation, like economics kind of the approach of mathematics, if you will. So I'm pretty sure you had a lot of students like that that's really just didn't get it, or maybe they was just bored with not wanting to do math. Was that something that always kind of played a part in your classroom?
Yeah, I'm very different. I was not the kind of student that got it either. I really spent my time in education just getting by, not, just getting enough done to do the things that I wanted to do. And in high school, I loved playing sports. So as long as I can get my work done to get a C or a C minus or whatever it is, that's the approach I took, do bare minimal. Actually, I'm growing up in California schools. This is a sad fact, but I never read a book from front to end until I was a senior in high school. And so the reality is I learned ways to kind of get by and get whatever was necessary for what I wanted. But I was never inspired to really pursue or feel like I could do more. It really wasn't until I was in college later on after I got married that I really started seeing more potential and opportunities and not accepting less. But there was a bigger driving factor on success, and that was mainly wanting to grow and learn, as opposed to in high school, there wasn't that passion to really excel. It was just, doing the things that I love doing, which at that time was sports. But I would say with math, that is my passion, is working with people like you that really hated math and felt defeated by it and had been told they weren't good at it. But my approach has always been the way that I approach most things, and that's very, hands-on and engaging and fun. So I would do a fraction carnival. Kids hated fractions, but if I combined it with something that they love, so I dressed up as a clown, and they all individually made their own games that other kids had to come by and play. So they had to know their stuff in order to allow them to play. So it was, and I had, tickets, and they got to come by and redeem their tickets and win stuff with it. It was just one of those ways of getting them excited. And every year it was one of those things that students just really looked forward to. But that really even would apply for adults. I mean, I think as adults, the way that we learn and the way we engage with any content, if it's not something that brings out that passion and enthusiasm for us, I think we're going to find a lot more people are going to say, no, that's not for me. You know, even me, I would say finances, not for me. You know, that's just not my thing. Even though I did love math, but at the end of the day, it's the way that it's presented to us often. And that's what I love about immersive technology, is because it is presented in a way that really captures our students and adults. But it's also giving us opportunity to explore in a way that's impossible without the technology. So it opens up the door for enthusiasm and then provides the opportunity to dig in deeper.
That's really good. I like the way you explain it, like how you present an actual subject to either kids or adults for the, to kind of understand the scale of how one learn is very important, because everyone doesn't learn the same, and getting people engaged into learning is kind of hard already as it is, especially if it's a subject that they really don't like. And math, it seems like one of those ones that always get dragged out. But now we have these new programs like STEM, which I think are very important to kids, especially moving on to the next 20 and 30 years. These are going to be the absolute things that we're going to need to advance our kids. So how did you transition from math into this whole new world of technology integration, and becoming a consultant in that field?
Well, really, it was just always using technology. I saw how much the students loved it and I loved it. I think I never get bored with technology because it's always changing. I typically just find that, okay, I'm done with that, let's move on. But with technology, it's one of those areas that are constantly evolving and keeping you on your toes. So students really enjoy that. And interestingly enough, a lot of the students that really struggled in math were incredible at technology. I mean, they can problem solve anything when it came to technology, which is that skill that they needed in math. But because it was never related into something that they loved, they never saw themselves as problem solvers. So I would empower the students. I can't bring everything to the table, but they all have different talents and skills that they were able to bring to the table. And by bringing their skill set into the classroom, we were all able to work together, and those students got to build the confidence in an area that really could have been their future careers. With immersive technology, I feel like with augmented and virtual reality, to me, it's again going back to the technology of that enthusiasm, things constantly changing and growing. I see opportunities in that connect us in a way that we really can't connect. Even if I said, let's go on and watch a video, it's not as relatable as actually going there, maybe in immersive technology and virtual reality. And maybe, hey, come and join me, Mr. Williams. Let's bring our classes together and let's get our kids to collaborate across the world. But it sounds like they're sitting right there next to you. Or I'm seeing the moon actually in the center of my classroom. Or I'm at home because I'm in remote learning and I'm holding in the palm of my hand, the solar system. So as we're going through and getting these concepts, we're asking sometimes our kids to make connections to things that they have no idea what it is. If I said, hey, I want, you're in Tampa, but the beach is going to be your norm. But up here in East Texas and the northern part of Texas, many of our students have never been to the ocean. So to be able to connect that, hey, read about it, write about it. Well, they've never been there. How in the world do they make that connection? But by using these types of technologies, we're literally giving them a chance to step into the ocean and see these different species of fish and maybe explore in a way that, again, they would never get there. But by bringing them through immersive technology, we've opened up this new door of learning.
That's so amazing. And it brings me to the point, back to the technology piece. What can you tell me? What are the benefits for integrating technology into education?
Well, I think it's a skill set for our students that they need to have. When I talk about immersive technology, I rarely stick with the old. I'm always thinking about the future, what's next to come. But how we implement it, I think, is often tied to big budgets, which is not true. The marketing out there. So when it comes to actually integrating the technology, what they need to consider is what do they currently have available to them right now? But as they're doing their refreshes and they're making purchase decisions, I really want them to be aware of some of the newer technologies that are going to be their technology of their future, how they're going to be learning and growing. You know, I stay pretty well connected to a professor out, prior professor actually outside of the University of Alaska, Dr. Webb. He has done some incredible work for training for companies, and it's all done in virtual reality, you know, helping them actually train their employees in things that might be dangerous, and things that might be impossible to test, like bears and what that might look like in Alaska, but not really putting them with a real bear, but putting them into that scene and using that machine learning and circumstances to give them the illusion and the feeling like that bear is really there with them, and how would they respond. So there's all these different areas that I think, more so than just convenience, more so than just the cost factor, but really giving somebody the training necessary for them to actually put something into practice. And I think those types of technologies are going to be more and more involved into our workplace, as well as the skill sets that they're going to need. You know, when Apple releases their glasses, they're going to be using some technologies that our students are going to need to make those connections for, because they're going to be the ones creating the applications. They're going to be the ones using those applications in their workplace. So all of those pieces really fall along the line of being prepared and having access to the resources and the training while they're in school, so that when they leave school, that they're prepared for the workplace as well.
That's man, technology into, I mean, integrating technology is so important, like I was saying earlier. Oh my goodness. I don't know why all public schools just don't have a piece of education in their curriculum, starting from elementary all the way up. I think it should be mandated. I think it should be very I think it should be instilled into them at a very early age, because if we are so far behind like we currently are, and we always complain about budgets and things like that, but we have to always remind ourselves that these are the future leaders of our world, the future business owners, the future Apples of the world. We have to start them off early. So technology for me is always been important to instill into education. So you're doing it, and it's amazing, and I love it. And so I go to this tools that you use, this AR, VR. Tell us why they're so helpful into education.
Right. So immersive technology is really that umbrella term for augmented virtual reality, mixed reality, X reality, all of it. So you see kind of these terms being popped up, and oftentimes people don't know what to connect those dots for. I try to just train teachers so they know what tools they need to look for. You know, I currently have Chromebooks in my classroom. So what kind of tools do I need to be looking for? If I have iPads in my classroom, what opportunities do I have? Am I looking for a more augmented or virtual reality? Do I want to go get headsets? So some of the terminology would be something that I educate, just so they know how to go and research what types of tools that they specifically want and need in their class, and what's currently available to them. But in all of this technology, I think that our classrooms are beginning to use it. I mean, I've been on this journey for several years now. I've been a huge advocate of using immersive technology, but I'm also very practical. I don't think sticking a headset on a kindergartner is a good idea. We don't have the research behind it. We don't know exactly how that student is going to respond to that. Most of the time, there's legal matters involved with that. So you are liable if your student runs into something because they get spooked. There's all these other factors that are involved, how their brain, if they have a seizure while they're doing that. So I am an advocate for this technology, but I'm also caution, when you use this, go into it with a plan, know what you want to gain from this. And then also how you use it has to be safe for your students. So, pursuing some of this technology, you almost see people say, no, I don't want anything, or yes, I'm jumping in head first without any plan. And both are wrong. Both are going to run into a lot of problems. So you really want to come at this in the right way, actually educated on how to bring this kind of technology. But it's really not a tool for me or for a teacher. It's a tool for our students. We need to step out of our comfort zone and realize that it's really not about us knowing everything, but empowering our students to be the ones that gain that knowledge, and us be a factor of just, facilitating that learning for them and being part of that journey with them and learning from them and with them. So as scary as it may seem in immersive technology, at the end of the day, it's a tool that our students, one piece of a tool, not every tool, not every time, right? It's one of those resources available to us for learning, and how we pursue it is really goes back to that plan. What is my goal? What is my objective for this? And what do I want my students to be successful in by using this?
Awesome. I mean, you talk about technology a lot, and I see that there's a great passion there. Hence is why I think that you wrote this book, right? That's was released. Was it today or yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday the official book launch went out. I think they're already out
Uh-huh.
on Amazon. So Amazon's out of pocket. They're waiting for more copies. But my publisher is ISTE, which is one of the largest publications for education technology. They do a conference every year as well, drawing in all really internationally, bringing in educators to talk about how to integrate technology. So they, spoke to me initially and said, Jamie, here's an interest with AR, VR. What do you think? Or actually, they asked me about VR. And I said, well, I think that you need to couple that with AR too. Those both work hand in hand. And they're like, well, do you think there's enough out there for a book? And I'm like, oh, there's enough out there for 10 books. Like you can't fit it all into one book. What do you want to focus on? So we kind of talked about the plan. And then they said, well, what do you think? Do you want to write the book? And I'm like, no, I was a math teacher. No, I do not. But it was, I ended up saying yes at the end. I can't believe I did. It's not my preferred way of approaching by writing a book. So it's super easy read. But it is one of those things that I understand everybody, like you said, learn differently. Sometimes they need to sit there with you and do it. Sometimes they need to see your video and do it. Sometimes they need to hear a podcast. Sometimes they actually need to read it and write notes and highlight. So all of those approaches I try to take so that it gives those teachers familiarity and it makes them comfortable to actually pursue this, because the technology that I share, anybody can do it. I mean, from a kindergartner picking it up, making sense of it, through college age, whatever that is, there's so many different levels, but they can all jump right in head first without being tech savvy. It's incredible technology made simple.
That's awesome. Technology made simple is almost like an oxymoron. Technology is not simple; it's very complicated. But made simple, I love it. I love it. So in the book, did you hit on the ways that we can integrate technology into classrooms? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. My first book, Learning Transported, that was brought out in 2018, was really geared towards informing people what this is, how to bring this into your district, how to partner with other, other people that should be involved, other departments, really combining efforts and having a good plan so that you're not running into a million stumbling blocks, how to actually put this into your lesson plans. I hear a lot of people say, wow, this is great, year after year, but then you say, well, what have you done? Well, I didn't even know where to start. So really giving them that foundation of how to pursue this. What is this? Where do you get started? What are some first steps, and targeting some of the struggles your students are facing first, and then letting that technology be determined when you know exactly what you want to target. And then this last book that I just wrote that just came out, The Immersive Classroom, it is the next step. It is app smashing, it's app hacking, it's customizing our tools to meet our individual students, and really identifying and connecting with our students in a way that empower them and support them. And we value them as individuals first, and then finding those tools that really either we customize based upon what we need and what they need, instead of being dictated to by the way that the company created that tool, us really given an opportunity to customize it and make it our own. So there's so many factors, but what's best about the immersive classroom is it's full of stories. So instead of just facts, here's what it is, it's full of how this technology has transformed people's lives. And the way that this technology is used is so much more powerful than just having fun. Every image in the book comes to life. It's all used through augmented or virtual reality. So everything's interactive. It's not just, hey, let me tell you about it, but you go and experience it firsthand. So scan this with this app and bam, you're going to see my book cover with the whale pop out of that screen and come into your actual space through augmented reality. All of those things are available throughout the book so that they're not just hearing it, they're seeing it themselves.
That's really awesome. Oh my goodness. I'm like, I feel like I'm in a classroom, like taking notes. I'm learning all this stuff. It is so awesome. So I know that you do have a Twitter chat that you do, I think weekly, correct? Are there like classroom settings that you do with your Twitter chat, or what is that?
Yeah, I held off from doing the Twitter chat for about a year initially because I knew that it was a big commitment every week being available. It is now going on year 4, and it has just been about community building. And every week that I do it, it's almost like getting a little bit of professional development for that 30 minutes. Every Wednesday evening from 8 to 8:30 Central, people from around the world join in. And if they can't join in at that time, they can go back and check out the hashtag, which is ARVRINEDU. And they can go back in and connect those dots, even if they can't join us live. But the goal is, oftentimes people say, well, I started your chat and then I'm sorry I left because I got so engaged with what we were learning, and I said, that is a win for me. It's not about keeping you there for that 30 minutes. It's about inspiring you to jump in and see how this can be a tool that really transforms your learning in the classroom. So it's really just a spark. It's just to, one, connect people with other people. There's no one person that knows it all. It really does take the community of saying, hey, I ran into this, anybody else? How can we help support one another? And the community is phenomenal. Everybody jumps in, no matter what stage they're at. They're willing to help support teachers all over the world. It's really about being connected and supporting one another.
That's so awesome. So tell us, how can we find you on Twitter to get involved into these Twitter chats, and also where can we pick up the book?
Sure. Yeah. So my first book is Learning Transported. And then the book that just came out a few days ago, yesterday, I should say, is The Immersive Classroom. And my name is spelled really funny, first and last spelling. So you can find me on most social channels, including Twitter, at JaimeDonally. So Jaime Donally. And if you type in my name correctly, you're going to be able to find me and connect with me. And right now, actually this month, I'm doing an event called 31 Days of AR, VR, and EDU. So every day I'm doing a new blog post about a new tool that's been revised or just released, and how you can go back and learn about that. And I show a video, I show an image, I do step-by-step every day in the blog so that people can just jump in head first and grow this month.
That's awesome, man. This has been like, it's been like, I feel like I was back in school today. I feel like I've learned so much in the space of technology and emerging this into our educational system, and how this can actually help teachers as well. It's been a pleasure, Miss Jaime.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Likewise, I appreciate you for joining us today. And I want to know, what would be the future technology and education may look like. So we need to watch this space. Thank you for joining us. Next time on IBS.